just at the start of our mini Tour de Mont Blanc. I think it feels slightly cheating to call it that, because it would normally take about 2 weeks, and we're doing just like a couple of days walking, staying in refuges in the high mountain. And we just walked up from Les Houches, where we started, and spent the night yesterday. And you can more or less see the valley behind me from where we've come up, but that's just the first 30 minutes. We've reached the cross of Christ the King, which is about 30-40 minutes climb up from the valley. Only another 3 hours to go to Refuge Bellechain. Quick swig of water before we set off again. Come up from Les Houches, and the first part of our journey was through thick forest, which was actually really nice because it's a hot sunny day today, and it was very cool in the forest, and obviously we were quite sweaty going uphill all the time. And now we've got to Refuge Le Bellechain, where we're staying tonight, which is really nice. The second part of our walk up was when we came out of the forest line, and we were almost above the tree line, and it was more scrub and heather, and there were little butterflies and beetles flying around, and we had the most fantastic views of Mont Blanc, which you can see behind me. It's about 15,000 feet, I think, and we're now at about 6,000, so we've really done well climbing today. But I have to say that I'm glad we're not going any further. It took us about 5 hours to do what the guidebook said we should do in about 3.5. And the first thing we asked for when we got here was 2 cold beers, please, and we really enjoyed them sitting on the terrace of Le Bellechain. I've walked up behind the Refuge Bellechain where we're staying because I wanted to see the Lac de Brevant, which was a lake I could see on the map, and it won't be on our route tomorrow. So I've just climbed up, and can you see it behind me? It's a gorgeous pool of blue. If I had more time, I would go down and maybe even have a swim. We're just getting ready now to leave Refuge Bellechain, where we stayed last night, and we had a hearty home-cooked meal, soup and pasta, and I can't say I slept very well though. The accommodation here is pretty basic, and there's just up to 28 people all in one big room upstairs, and the mattresses are side by side, men and women together, so you can imagine it was pretty full, and didn't get a lot of sleep. But anyway, we're going to have a great day walking today. The sun's shining again, which is fantastic, and we're going up to the summit of Brevant, which is a real high point, and apparently you can get a fantastic view of Mont Blanc from there, and then on to Refuge Bellechain, which is where we'll be staying tonight. We've finally got to Refuge Bellechain, thank goodness. Second day of our walking, and we came from Refuge Bellechain this morning and walked through this rocky, mountainous, craggy landscape with some lakes. There was Lac de Brevant there, quite a big lake, and a few little pools as well. And we climbed right up to the peak at Brevant, and at the top the cable car goes up there from the valley of Chamonix. And so we got to the top, and the guidebook said, you really should go and have a look. So we went up to have a look. Fantastic view of Mont Blanc. And then we sat in the cafe for a while with a fantastic panorama. So that was nice. And then we came 30 minutes back down again. And then only to consult the guidebook and find that the turning that we had to take was back at the summit again. So I climbed all the way back up, so exhausted. It was like, oh no! And as we came up, looking very weary obviously, there were some American girls bounding down. They'd obviously just got off the cable car, feeling very fresh, going downhill, almost running. And they said, oh, we haven't got any of those mountain pole things, but the people who've got them look really exhausted. I thought, yes, I am exhausted. Anyway, got to the top where we should have turned, and then we had two choices. One was to go the traditional Tour de Mont Blanc way, which talked about metal ladders and, you know, steep cliffs and drops. Or we had the chance to get the other way, which was down to the Cowper station along a piste, which was basically a sort of shale road. So we took the easy option, walked down to that station and sat in their cafe with another great panorama and watched some of the paragliders taking off over the valley. And so after that, it was a couple of hours walk to Flégère, where we are now, through lovely countryside. It was along the side of the valley, through forest and scrub and so heather and gorse. It was just really beautiful. Anyway, we're here now. It's nearly time for dinner. I've had a hot shower, which it was like, oh, bliss, after just having to wash in cold water under a tap where we were last night. And the rooms, because it's a bit bigger, it takes I think about 40 plus people here. It's a bit more well set up. Still quite basic, but compared to what we had last night, it really feels like a 5-star hotel. So tomorrow maybe a little bit more walking and down back to the valley again. So we're on the last leg of our little mini Tour de Mont Blanc. We've done 3 days out of 11 or 12 day tour, and we stayed at Flégère, Refuge Flégère last night, but because we wanted to spend the day walking and not come straight down to the valley, we went up to Lac Blanc, which is a glacial lake. It took about an hour and a half to walk up there. It's absolutely stunning when we got there, really worth making the walk up to. It's milky green glacial lake. In fact, there are 2 lakes, one behind the other, surrounded by mountains, fantastic views. And so we enjoyed sort of sitting and walking around the lake. And then we sat on the terrace of the refuge there, which was a very nice refuge, and sat on the terrace, and we had this tarte aux myrtilles, which is blueberry tart, and it was really delicious. And then we took a slightly different route on the way back, which we thought would be shorter, but in fact it was just as long. It was over all this glacial moraine to the top of a cable, a chairlift, a Landak's chairlift. So we took the chairlift down, and then we've walked down from there through the forest, and we're nearly back in Chamonix, which is behind me. And so we've done our 3 days. It would be normally about 12 days to do the whole Tour de Mont Blanc, but we've decided that we're definitely going to come back next year or another year to do a little bit more. Although we were joking and saying that the pace that we walk, it's probably going to take about 10 years before we manage to finish it, maybe 1 or 2 legs each year.